Ukraine caught up and even outstripped Russia in terms of the number of tanks, and the Russian tank fleet has been halved since the beginning of the Russian war against Ukraine. Bloomberg writes about this, citing data from the Kiel Institute for the World Economy and the Oryx Monitoring Group. According to them, before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Russia had almost 3,500 tanks, and now it has less than 1,500.
Last year, Russia fired 10 million artillery shells, but at best can produce 1 million shells a year. It has lost 2.5 thousand tanks, and at best can produce 200 tanks a year. Anthony Radakin, chief of the defense staff of Great Britain, from Bloomberg Material.
The armed forces of Ukraine are superior to the Russian army in terms of the quality of artillery and missile systems either, and this is thanks to the support of Western partners. In total, the United States has provided more than $43 billion in military aid to Ukraine since the start of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine, according to the Pentagon.
The usage of NATO calibers, the usage of NATO weapon systems, which we only dreamt of. This also applies to multiple launch rocket systems, air defense systems. This suggests that we are moving confidently and very quickly in that direction.
In addition, the very tactics of warfare are outdated and obviously losing, experts say, and the Soviet-style equipment is inferior to the innovative technologies used by the armed forces of Ukraine.
First of all, tactical discoveries like printing spare parts on 3D printers and the flexibility of individual brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine, which are quite autonomous and do not have such support from the center that even they themselves would like to. One can admire the way Ukraine has built logistics, but in many ways it was driven by necessity and not by a well-thought-out plan. Shashank Yoshi, military columnist for The Economist, in an interview with Medusa.
The Russian army operates according to the patterns of World War II, while Ukraine is approaching NATO standards. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, more than 20,000 Ukrainian military personnel have been trained in 17 allied countries. Half of them are narrow specialists, for example, such as sappers, doctors, divers, scouts.
Soldiers are being trained in Poland, Germany, Great Britain, Spain, at training grounds. They are taught there by instructors from almost all NATO countries. This can be seen from the actions and maneuvers of our military on the battlefield, including the difference in losses.
One of the most effective operations of the armed forces of Ukraine, analysts call the liberation of the Kharkiv region and in particular Izium. The offensive was so swift that the Russians had no choice but to simply flee.
There was a story when one of their generals, who was captured by us, was a general of the logistics service. He decided to personally control the supply of shells and as a result was captured by us because the military was afraid to report to him that they had already left their positions and fled.
Today, the Ukrainian army is the most experienced in terms of combat in a full-scale war, and NATO countries already want the Ukrainian special forces to share their experience after the end of hostilities.
The British are probably number one in support of the Special Operation Forces. British instructors say, after the victory of Ukraine, we will take signs from your instructors, because no one in the world can do what you guys already can. And we really know how to beat the Russians. NATO was created 74 years ago to contain the aggression of the Russian Empire, which was then called the Soviet Union. And today NATO has already begun to realize that Ukraine is the only country in the world that is not an alliance member that has real combat experience of how to beat the Russians. Alexei Reznikov, Minister of Defense of Ukraine, from a message on the website of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine.
Assistance of allies to Ukraine does not stop. The United States is going to transfer up to 500 Starlink terminals to Ukraine. The US military will monitor the signal on Ukrainian territory. In addition, the states are preparing a new military aid package. It will be announced next week. Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Victoria Smirnova, UATV News.